Hi, you're here on Just Maria D. It is indeed Maria D. And welcome to that Tuesday vlog. Today I thought I would have a little bit of a chat about the reason why we home educate autonomously. We haven't always home educated autonomously. In the past we've used all different kinds of curriculum. Why then, after going down that route, did I decide to switch? Well, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why we autonomously home educate. Number 1. By the time that Joey was sort of compulsory school age, he was already showing signs of being an incredibly self-directed, autonomous kind of learner. And as he was sort of going through that stage of becoming compulsory school age, I had children going off to college, which is sort of, 16-year-old really here in the UK. One of the things that I really noticed, and on talking to them, was that the college were really interested in self-directed learners, that it was something that really set kids apart, was their ability to be self-directed in their learning and take responsibility for what they do. And that happened again when we started to look around universities and we started to talk to course tutors and things like that, that there seemed to be this hunger to have students that were self-directed and inquisitive and curious and not just there to tick boxes. Listening to a lot of alternate educators, listening to a lot of TED Talks on education, listening to a lot of people that were wanting to create a different kind of learner within society, a bit more of a free thinker and a bit more responsible, I suppose, for their own learning. And so for me, that whole having a self-directed learner became really important. And I found that curriculum for us, and I'm not saying this is the true for everybody, but I found curriculum for us got in the way of that, because it became a bit of a crutch for me in terms of making sure that I ticked boxes, which wasn't really in line with the philosophy that I was wanting to create in them being self-directed. So number 1, having self-directed learners. The second reason why I chose to autonomously educate my youngest son, having listened to a lot of alternate educators' views on education, having read some studies about it, having read some books about it, and some of these aren't even home educators, they're just educators. I kept hearing that what people really needed in the world was creative thinkers, that the world needed those people that were free to think and explore. And so I made a very bold decision that my son would be free to do that. He could choose the things that he wanted to learn about, was free to explore, was free to choose what he wanted to do. Now, I say that, and that I don't want you to think that we have no expectations of him, nor is he running around feral every day and out of control. That is not how we do family life. We have loose structure, we have routine, we have chores, we have things that we expect of our children, we have values that we set for our household. I wouldn't want to leave you with the impression that autonomous education in our house means that comes without expectation, because that's just not true. I've shared this before about the quote about Michelangelo and him seeing the angel in the marble and carving until he set it free. And that has been a very formative quote in our home education journey. Number 3 would be that I want him to be aware of his gifts and talents and his strengths and the things that naturally interest him. When you see a little child and they're learning to walk and the parent's kind of there, so the kid's taking these wobbly steps, and sometimes the parent might hold the hand a little bit, and then the child takes the steps and the hand goes, but the parent's still there, like behind the child, kind of wobbling along. So the child's wobbling along and the parents go, whoa, 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 whoa. Well, that's for me is a bit like my experience of educating Joey. I freed him to go and freed him to learn and freed him to experience, and hopefully that will bring out the angel from the marble, so the things that he is naturally good and talented at and have been placed within him. But I'm still here, like I'm kind of wobbling, and sometimes I'm guiding a little bit or making a suggestion, you know, taking their hand when they are getting a little bit too wobbly and off track. And for me, that's kind of the analogy of what autonomous learning has been in my house. It's not been a completely hands-off, woohoo, you're free, child, run. It's been that being there, guiding, catching, taking hold of the hand, steering away from, steering towards. But yeah, that kind of is how it feels to me, that in allowing the freedom of choice and hopefully that angel to be carved from the marble, so those things that they're passionate about, that bring them joy, that there are gifts and their talents will come forth. 4 is that I think autonomy is something that people seem to miss out on a lot these days. Having done things differently with some of my other children, feeling like that I have made some mistakes and have some regrets about the way that they have been parented or what we have done with their home education. Nothing major, just things that you would do differently as you're looking back over time. I wanted my children to have autonomy. Having found myself in a church in particular that was spiritually abusive, watching how that situation robbed people of their autonomy and how God was often used as a weapon and as a manipulative tool, I wanted my children to be able to be strong in who they are and what they believe, and have autonomy themselves in the things that they do in life. To be able to recognize intuition. As a Christian, you might call it the voice of the Holy Spirit. To be able to be aware of when something is right or wrong, when it crosses personal boundaries. Part of choosing the autonomous education route was also about cultivating that autonomy within my child. That's a little bit more of a serious one, and it's going to be one that some people are going to like and some people aren't going to like. But rightly or wrongly so, I wanted to give him that personal autonomy. And number 5 is that it's a lot of fun. We have had all kinds of experiences. We have been involved in all kinds of programs. We have met all kinds of people. We have been exposed to different cultures, different values, different lives, in experiencing things that are more hands-on, that are not governed by a particular curriculum, that being able to pick and choose what we do, that I just think he's had the most amazing childhood, really. And I feel that as he approaches those teen years, this September would be his entering into high school. I feel that as he starts to look forward to the future, that he'd have all of the experiences that he's had, all the different ways of doing things, all the different ways of learning things will stand him in good stead for the future. So there you have it. 5 reasons I decided to autonomously home educate. Self-directed learning, creative out-of-the-box type thinking, to allow his natural gifts and talents and passions to come to the surface, to be autonomous as a person and understand what it means to be autonomous. The 5th thing is that I think it's a great childhood. It's been a lot of fun, hasn't been full of anxiety or stress. And I say that because there seems to be like a real growing population in the UK of children that are coming out of school due to anxiety. I know this because I belong to some major, with thousands of people home educating Facebook groups, for instance, and every day there are children being pulled out of school because they're throwing up. And we're not just talking about high schoolers, we're talking about kids in primary school because of the stress of and anxiety that they're suffering from, and you know, their experiences of bullying. And I'm not going to pretend at all that home ed world is utopia and you know, there are all rainbows and fairy dusts and unicorns and people get on all the time, because that's just not true. But he's had like a pretty stress-free, anxiety-free childhood. That doesn't mean to say life doesn't throw curveballs at us. You know, we've had times of unemployment, we've had time of sickness, you know, we've had times where life has been difficult for us, you know, times where we emigrated to a whole other country and lost all our support networks and community and family. So do not think by any stretch of the imagination that we have lived a magical, stress-free life. That's not what I'm communicating. I'm just saying that we have also had quite a stress-free childhood. The 5 reasons why I chose to autonomously home educate my last child, having done curriculum in the past. If you've got any questions for me, please leave them in the comments below. If you don't understand it, if you don't agree with it, that's okay. I'm okay with that. I don't feel that everybody has to agree with me for us to be friends. So, you know, that's okay. That's fine. I don't struggle with disagreement. I think it's okay that you can have your point of view and I can have mine. I will love you. So yeah, catch you on the flip side. Bye.